Okay, so thank you so much, Sean and Annie, and thank you for everyone who's here today. It's a huge encouragement for us, and thank you also for those of you who are already supporting us. That is a real huge encouragement. It's sort of interesting how I first met Sean, because before my daughter could drive, I used to take her every Sunday to youth group, and it just so happened at that particular time when I was driving to my daughter's youth group that there was this strange, mysterious church on the radio called Calvary Chapel, Hidden Valley. And I didn't know where Hidden Valley was. It sounded sort of mysterious and maybe, something from the Shires or the Hobbit or something. But anyway, I listened to this, and months went by, and I was listening to this radio broadcast. And then just before Sean and Annie went to France, my wife was helping them a little bit with French, because she's the French teacher at Maranatha Christian Schools. And I think she'd invited Sean and Annie over for tea, and they were there, and I was across the kitchen island from Sean, and we were doing, well, what do you do, and what do you do? And he said, I'm the pastor of Calvary Chapel, Hidden Valley, and you could have knocked me over with a feather. So I became really challenged about missions a few years ago when my wife and I were on a short-term mission trip to Mexico. And there was a guy there called Brad Boozer, who was a former missionary with New Tribes. And as something like a young 20-year-old kid, newly married, he had gone out literally to the back of beyond in Papua New Guinea with his wife, and then had children on the field. And I can remember one thing he was saying once, that one of his kids was gravely ill, because these places are difficult to live in, and the people, the Itedis, they were just laughing that his child was close to death, because they were just so used to their children dying and disease and all this sort of thing. But what really struck me about Brad was that he didn't claim any special miraculous calling to be told to go out to the mission field. He was basically on the strength of what it says in the Bible. And we all know what it says, but I just wanted to read a couple of verses. Mark 16:15-16. And he said to them, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He who believes and is baptized will be saved, but he who does not believe will be condemned." And John 20:21. So Jesus said to them again, "Peace to you. As the Father has sent me, I also send you." So Sean was just mentioning some of the facts about France, and if you're at Maranatha, you probably saw the video that the church made. France is the largest country in Western Europe. Something like over 90% of towns and villages do not have an evangelical church. 74% of the people there have never opened a Bible. It's got the highest rate of depression in the world. It's traditionally Roman Catholic, but only 5% of people, Roman Catholics, go to Mass. And for every evangelical Christian, there are 10 Muslims. And then add to that, there are something like 50,000 people working in the occult, such as tarot and fortune telling and psychic healing. But the good news is that evangelicals have grown by 10 times since 1950. So this isn't Papua New Guinea, but it certainly is a very dark place spiritually. So what we plan to do is leave the US later this summer. We're leaving our children behind. They're all at university, either as undergraduates or postgraduates, and go, as Sean said, to Comlaville, which is a small town in the southeast of Paris. Got about 21,000 people there. We're going to be doing children's work and children's ministry, also English classes, friendship evangelism, and media development at Église Horizon, which, as Sean said, is the church pastored by Pastor Franck, who some of you may have seen when he was here a couple of years ago. We've got a lot of challenges. We've got to sort out the clutter that we've been able to accumulate in the last 25 years of marriage and bringing up 3 kids. We've got to get rid of a lot of stuff. We've got to raise financial support, and we've been doing pretty well, but we still have some ways to go. And we also need to find a support team, a group of people who will pray for us regularly when we're out there, and set up meetings and so on. So I'm currently doing the missions class at Maranatha Bible College, and the book we're using is From Jerusalem to Irian Jaya. And I was very moved by something that Gladys Aylward said. Gladys Aylward was a young working class English woman who felt the call to go to China. She met a lot of setbacks, including being booted out of the mission organization because she academically wasn't really good enough. They made a film about her called The Inn of the, I think it's Sixth or Seventh Happiness, with Ingrid Bergman. But she wasn't a tall, beautiful blonde. She was a small, working class English lady. And what she said was, I wasn't God's first choice for what I've done in China. There was somebody else. I don't know who it was, God's first choice. It must have been a man, a wonderful man, a well-educated man. I don't know what happened. Perhaps he died. Perhaps he wasn't willing. And God looked down and saw Gladys Aylward. Now, we don't see ourselves as obvious missionaries, but we are willing, and clearly there is an important work that needs to be done. So what I'd like to do now is introduce my wife, Sian, and she's going to talk a little bit more about what we're planning to do.